Hello and welcome everybody, readers and audience. Welcome to the Poets and Writers second annual Honoring Our Elders virtual reading. My name is Bonnie Rose Marcus, and I am the director of the Readings and Workshops Program East and Writers Exchange at Poets and Writers. And I'm here with my associate program coordinator, Ricardo Hernandez, who has been an incredible help. This would not have happened without him. He's doing all the technical stuff as well as everything else he does with me at work, and I'm totally grateful. And I'm also here with our host today, Reggie Cabico, who I love and who I will introduce after saying some words. So for those listening who are not so familiar with Poets and Writers, we're a literary nonprofit founded in 1970. And our work is rooted in the belief that literature is vital to sustaining a vibrant culture. We focus on nurturing literature source creative writers. And our mission is to foster the professional development of poets and writers, to promote communication through the literary community, and to help create an environment in which literature can be appreciated by the widest possible public. So that really fits in with what we're doing here today. We do this in many ways. We have a magazine, the Poets and Writers Magazine, which is an award-winning bi-monthly publication, which if you haven't checked out, I highly recommend it. And our website, pw.org, provides trustworthy advice, information, and a lively online community for writers in all walks of their life. And the Readings and Workshops program, which is the umbrella for this reading and for all the workshops that you all participated in to be in this reading. And Readings and Workshops is a program that pays writers to give readings and conduct workshops throughout New York and California, as well as 8 other cities. So yeah, check out our website when you have a chance. We are delighted to have all of you writers, you participants who are reading today from 6 of our community sites, which we have funded through our Readings and Workshop program. And all of these sites here today have a long history with us. I was reflecting, at least 2 decades, some of them. And I was reflecting that the writers reading today are really part of a lineage of elders, many no longer with us, but in whose footsteps each of you follows by writing your stories, poems, sharing your truth and your wisdom. And much gratitude to each of the teachers, the facilitators of these workshops, who have offered you guidance and inspiration that I know has sustained and nurtured all of you in your writing. During this time of COVID, Poets and Writers made the transition from funding in-person events to funding virtual events. I know from my visits and conversations with writers that this has been a lifeline for a lot of you to be able to continue to meet with your fellow writers and to continue to write the stories and poems and essays that you need to write. These workshops and this reading could not have happened without the support and work of so many. I want to thank our funders, the New York State Council on the Arts, the Department of Cultural Affairs, Friends of Poets and Writers, staff at Poets and Writers, and the support of the Lewis and Ann Abrams Foundation, which began this initiative in the early 2000s with some of our sites. It's been a challenging year for all of us. Not only the COVID pandemic, but the murder of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, just to name a few, in an excruciating history of violence against Black people and people of color. During these times, we are especially honored to offer this opportunity to celebrate the voices of our elders and acknowledge their wisdom, creativity, and life experience. I'd like to dedicate this reading to all those that lost their lives to COVID-19 and all that lost their lives to police brutality and the injustices of racism. May these losses guide us towards a universal respect for all life, for a just and peaceful world. And now I'm going to hand over the reins to our host, Reggie Cabico, who has been the host for our intergenerational in-person reading that we held for many years, and now for this second of our virtual reading, Honoring Elders. It is always a pleasure to welcome Reggie. I am grateful and fortunate that I have known and worked with him throughout these many years. Reggie is the recipient of the 2006 Barnes & Noble Writers for Writer Award presented by Poets and Writers, former Nuyorican Poets Cafe Grand Slam champion. He has appeared on the TEDx, HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam, and NPR Snap Judgment. He resides in Washington, D.C., where he is the artistic director for Capturing Fire Spoken Word Arts, and he has facilitated countless workshops with diverse populations across the globe. So Reggie, we welcome you and take it away.
Snap it up. Let's give it up for Bonnie Rose Marcus, everybody. I am Reggie Cabico coming to you live from Washington, D.C. I live on top of a Trader Joe. This is my patio. These are my hydrangeas. And we're going to have a phenomenal time. We did our first Zoom honoring our elders reading last year. I am so back to be here for year two. Now that we're all Zoom experts, I want to give a shout out to the phenomenal sites. The Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College, Dr. Edith Rock Elders Writers Workshop is in the house. Shout out to Goddard Riverside Community Center. Shout out to Grand Street Settlement. Shout out to Kew Gardens Community Center, Stanley Isaacs Neighborhood Center, and Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center. I also just want to say, for those of us in the Zoom room, we could, even though we're muted, we could show our love and our praise by doing ASL applause. We could snap. We could also do the silence clap. I also want to say that there is a chat box. So I like to say, go in, poet. I like to say, testify, break it down. If you hear something you like and you feel a little chat savvy, please send your positivities there. And welcome to everyone who is watching on YouTube land. From Zoom land to YouTube land, we are all together here to celebrate poems. Before I introduce Clarence Reynolds, the director for the Center for Black Literature, I'm going to kick this off with a tiny poem. It is June, it is Queer Pride Month, and I finally have a boyfriend. It is nice to date someone whose name I know, and so it is great. So it just took, who knew? It just took a pandemic for Reggie Cabico to just get over any and all of his issues. And Elina Alexander, you knew me. I was single when I started at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, and now you see me in some kind of relationship with an older British guy. It is not Downton Abbey, but I am growing flowers and roses. We are not in competition. That said, thank you, Elina. Thank you, thank you. I could feel the rice. You're throwing that. We are not engaged or anything like that, but this is. Anyway, this poem is called Arboretum, dedicated to John. Arboretum. It's nice to be led across a meadow by a guy you're smitten by, and he smitten by you. And you both stumble on lilac land, and you realize love is a bit like lilac land. You just never expected to get there till you smell the lilacs together. All right. All right. I cannot say that I am single and available anymore, but for the last few decades, my life was a Barbra Streisand film. Barbra Streisand film, no more. That said, are you ready to hear some incredible writers from our first workshop site? Let's give it up for the Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College, the Dr. Edith Rock Elders Writers Workshop, introducing the phenomenal writers. Can we please snap it up for the incredible director for the Center for Black Literature? Let's give it up and snap it up for Clarence Reynolds.
Thank you, Reggie. I appreciate the warm welcome. Again, my name is Clarence Reynolds. I'm the director of the Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College. Thank you, Bonnie Marcus and Poets and Writers, for inviting our Elders Writing Group to participate in this program. And Poets and Writers have been a champion of our program for ages. So Bonnie, thank you, and thank Poets and Writers. And on behalf of Dr. Brenda Green, the founder and executive director at the Center for Black Literature, and Issa Yulin, the workshop leader for the Dr. Edith Rock Elders Writing Workshop program. We're delighted to be here this afternoon with you for this presentation of Honoring Our Elders. We are pleased again to have the 4 members who are going to participate in this reading. But let me give you a little background about the Center. The Center for Black Literature was established in 2002, and its mission has been to expand, broaden, and enrich the public's knowledge and aesthetic appreciation of the value of Black literature. We do this through a series of programs that build an audience for the reading, discussion, and critical analysis of contemporary Black literature, and that serve as a forum for the research and study of Black literature. This memoir writing workshop began in 2003 as the writing project for older African Americans, with the purpose of gathering information and creating original stories from older Black Americans whose history is likely to be distorted or lost for the lack of documentation. In 2019, Dr. Edith Rock, one of the founders of the program, passed, and since then the program has been renamed in her honor. Again, I would like to give a hearty thank you to Bonnie and Poets and Writers. And for more information about our Elders Writing Workshop, please visit our website, www.centerforblackLiterature.org. It's now my pleasure to introduce Claudette Joy Spence, Jeanette Toomer, Bill Craig, and Ivan Donovan, 4 members of the Dr. Edith Rock Elders Writing Workshop, and they'll be bringing you some original works. So please enjoy, and as always, thank you.
Thank you, Brother Clarence, for such a wonderful introduction. My name is Claudette Joy Spence, and my piece is titled Immigrant to U.S., a Racism Primer. I had no desire to leave Jamaica, but my mother, my sister, and I traveled from Kingston Airport to JFK. We arrived in 1969, the year the New York Mets won the World Series. The significance of this was lost on me. I knew nothing about baseball. Cricket? Yes. The handsomeness of Garfield Sobers, Wes Hall, and Rohan Kanai of the West Indies cricket team kept my teenage energies attracted to them and the game. Baseball was not the only thing of which I knew nothing about America. We settled in Corona, that Queens neighborhood that was home to the Black Panthers. I consumed the mass media presentations of them being hostile as accurate and truthful. It was a good 10 years later, I learned that in addition to having a military arm, the Black Panther Party was doing good and valuable work in several African communities in the US. In the midst of systemic racism, they were working to provide an alternate path to wellness for their communities. Learning to recognize racism was a new journey for me. I did not want to identify with African Americans because of the overwhelming and ubiquitous negative portrayal of them as a people. Over the years, as I grew in knowledge and understanding, I would spend many hours in oral battles with Caribbean immigrants, lighting their path to the wealth of African American contributions, past and present, to building the USA, and how racism shows up in ways they would least suspect. Several African American pastors in the Lutheran Church and the United Church of Christ gave me guidance in their sermons. They recommended books to read and lectures to attend to help me understand racism in the US. Studies through the Africana Studies Department at Queens College, led by Professor Wentworth of Kojo, added depth and breadth to my understanding. My first experience of how racism shows up happened when we lost our home in Corona to a fire. An African American who was assigned as a tax accountant to the bank where I worked opened my eyes. Did they give you a monetary gift? He asked. No, you didn't get one because you're Black. A few days later, my coworkers gifted me money during this homeless stage. How much did you get? He asked. To my answer, he said, such a small amount? That's because you're Black. Today, on a cultural level, I self-identify as African American, of African ancestry born in the Americas, Jamaica, working for peace and justice among us, and connected to the joys and challenges of my African family, born and living at home and abroad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Should I go next? I'm going to read. I don't know how to put my screen up so you can see me. So I'm just going to read. It's from my memoir, which is called Precious Struggles, The Making of a 21st Century Woman. Okay, the title of this chapter is called Birthing. We married late in December 1979. After the guest reception of 30 friends and family, we enjoyed a blissful night in a deluxe honeymoon suite in a swanky Philly hotel. We drove back to New York the next day. The following year, Libyans revolted against multinational corporations and British control under the leadership of Muammar Gaddafi. My husband, Daniel, was invited to participate in an international conference in Libya that discussed the negative effect of multinational corporations in African countries. As a student at Columbia University, he organized rallies and protests in the Free Rhodesia and Divest US out of South Africa movements. He contacted leaders in the United States and abroad who supported the independence of African nations. I supported him at rallies, meetings, and at 21 years old, the maiden voyage outside the States. We had a brief layover in London where we caught up with old apartment mates, Chris and his sweetheart, Gail. They lived in a small flat in the Black, or rather West Indian part of London. They toted a small portable heater from room to room. For the first time, I met a young woman, Leslie, who spoke with a Cockney accent. After watching movies like Oliver and Mary Poppins, I assumed that only whites spoke in that dialect. March in London was damp and chilly. I had never lived in a place without central heating. Although a child of poverty, I realized that I had enjoyed an American privilege. Despite that realization, annoyed by the inconvenience, I complained throughout our 2-day stay there. The best part of our visit in London was feasting on homemade Caribbean dishes and hot cocoa tea. On numerous occasions, I tried to make this soothing drink on cold, wintry New York mornings, but I couldn't capture the sweet, chocolatey cinnamon tea flavor. Sorry about that. When we boarded the flight to Tripoli, Libya, butterflies of anticipation. Can everybody hear me? When we boarded the flight to Tripoli, Libya, let me just check. Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to check that my mic was off.
We hear you.
Okay.
We hear you.
Okay, thank you. When we boarded the flight to Tripoli, Libya, butterflies of anticipation fluttered in my stomach. For years, I wanted to visit Africa. Was it the Malcolm X effect or watching Kunta Kinte's Family and Roots? Did Black Panther and Black Power movements in Philadelphia point me to appreciate African heritage? This culmination of powerful influences provided the opportunity to go home. The romance between Daniel and me blossomed in our homeland. The beach on the Mediterranean Sea held starry-eyed beauty beyond words. The picturesque setting proved to be the perfect romantic backdrop for lovemaking. The honeymoon that we couldn't afford just a few months earlier played out in a country that we had only dreamed about. A few weeks later, I experienced dizziness, lethargy, and nausea. I lost 10 pounds in just a few days. Soon after the doctor confirmed pregnancy, Daniel announced that he did not want me to have the baby. Oh, this is happening. I am not having another abortion. We were not fumbling teenagers with an unwanted fetus. We conceived our baby in a loving marriage. We are not ready, cautioned Daniel. Not ready? Yeah, with all the renovations, the dust and debris won't be safe for you or the baby. Daniel's parents also felt that he was not ready for parenthood. They exerted their influence on him, and in turn, he projected their reluctance onto me. Abortion was an easy out chosen by our extended family. The demolition was an attempt to mask his inability to challenge his parents. Daniel had organized friends and acquaintances to renovate one of the old tenement buildings on Amsterdam Avenue. Along with our neighbors whose names represented their ethnicity, La Lucha, and Merengue Gaucho. He gutted the ratty, filthy, dark structure and discarded the debris into dumpsters that lined the avenues. Through the Sweat Equity Program, Daniel's leadership and personal sacrifice, we renovated the 5-story apartment building, which we call Nation Builders, by consolidating 4 compact railroad flats per residential floor to create 2 spacious apartments on each floor. Our block of 20th century grassroots renovators was dubbed the Amsterdam Homesteaders. Daniel thrived in this environment of hard work, commitment, and block cheerleader / organizer. He was one of 2 homesteaders who agreed to stay overnight to safeguard the new wiring, boiler, and tools. Not only did he demonstrate great physical strength and endurance, his genuine compassion and personal touch warmed people to the point of working to near exhaustion. He learned demolition and construction as he went and never questioned whether we would occupy the apartment. The plan was to purchase the building from the city. However, Daniel's parents did not loan him the money, $250, to buy our cooperative apartment. I borrowed the money from my sister, and we bought the building in 1982. Every tenant paid their own way to purchase their shares and lease the cooperative. I'm gonna skip a little bit. We often supplemented our home-cooked meals with takeout many times. Daniel loved macaroni and cheese, which I could not make as well as his mother, despite my numerous attempts. By the time our first baby girl arrived, I had taught myself to cook with the help of Betty Crocker and phone calls to Mom. On a bitterly cold February night, my water broke. As amniotic fluid trickled down my legs, I woke up Daniel. It's time. He sprung up and ran to the other side to assist me out of the low bed. We lived a few blocks from Women's Hospital on Amsterdam Avenue and decided to walk. By the time we reached 110th Street, only 2 blocks from home, I had doubled over in pain. At 2 a.m., Daniel flagged a cab. I had not dilated enough to deliver, but I was in labor. I failed at pain management as I screamed and cried with every stabbing contraction. A few hours later, which seemed like forever, the anesthesiologist gave me an epidural, which allowed me to rest a bit. As the sun beamed through the window blinds, the doctor's last examination revealed that my cervix had dilated enough for delivery. Apparently, the epidural was not potent because the pang of contractions returned with a vengeance. I bellowed. Daniel squeezed my hand, saying, "It's okay, scream as loud as you want." Although I didn't need it, his permission freed me to release multiple vocal registers. "Push," urged the female doctor, composed despite my attitude. "We have the head." She looked up at me. When the next contraction, Mrs. Tumor pushed hard. I turned to Daniel for reassurance. "You can do it." With my body contorting and writhing in pain, I mustered the strength to push out a human being. The doctor said, "We have her." Daniel beamed with pride. "She's beautiful." Exhausted, I flopped back on the bed. The doctor said, "One more push to expel the afterbirth." A nurse placed our beautiful baby girl wrapped in a white blanket on my chest. She looked at me with light brown eyes like her father, soft and brown. She had a full head of black hair. She smiled. I cried, laughed, and whispered, "What a miracle." The volley of emotions, mad, impatient, and evil-tempered, was replaced with happiness, joy, and all-consuming love. We brought Nia home and soon visited her maternal grandmother in Philadelphia and Daniel's parents in Maryland. All misgivings of aborting their first grandchild disappeared as the magic of our newborn dispelled all doubts. With renovations still in progress, the blistering winter made the loft too cold and airy. Daniel converted the bathroom into a makeshift bedroom for me and the baby because it had insulated walls and better heating. Nia and I endured the winter in that tight, warm space. Daniel took care of errands outside the home while I cooked in our large kitchen and breastfed our growing baby.
Let's give it up for Jeanette Toomer, everyone. That was incredible. What a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Thank you.
And I'm just jumping in just to make sure that we get all of our readers in. I believe we got Bill Craig, followed by Ivan Donovan. Um, I also just want to say that it's about 3-ish minutes per writer. So I'm definitely going to be looking at the time for all of the readers here. So I might jump in with some hydrangeas and lilacs. Without any further ado, we got Bill Craig, followed by Ivan Donovan.
Okay.
Greetings, you all. Thank you for the opportunity. My piece is named Visions. I am captured by the light that I see in her eyes, somewhat diminished, but ever present. Willingly, I submit. I remember the years of my coming to be, aware of those eyes and their brightness as they dispelled the darkness and its fears for me. Blessed I was, and even now. Not always able, but when I can, I sit before her like the young child I am, 7 and 5 years young, and gave into the light in those eyes, and listen to the stories and visions that they have seen and been a part of. Those words, though plain and simple, are wisdom that takes shape and form. My imagination soars in wonderment. Could I have, or would I have, been strong enough, focused enough, wise enough, and aware enough of the importance of tomorrow to be here today as she, given those cursed times? Was it her child or her mate and their safety and wellness that strengthened her ability to walk past the vileness she certainly experienced? She was, as she is now, beauty personified. She stumbles at times with her words, but even that happenstance is well earned. It has been a century plus in her remembrances. She has survived. I am embarrassed, maybe even ashamed that I think to myself of the complaints that I have in the light of what she has experienced. No less than 10 times what I have been sent to the great beyond in a foolish attempt to prove my righteousness and their wrongfulness. Her statements are a matter of fact. If you know you can't drink from that fountain, you drink from the other fountain. Quenching the first thirst is the most important idea, then proving the right or the wrong of it. Then those who tried, while honorable, are no longer here, and I prayed for them then as I prayed for them now. We were grateful for the cake, never mind the eating of it. But it's different now. Miss Ann or Miss Charlie standing next to you, shouting for your rights. Alone but not lonely, she is filled with the memories of the loves of her life. She was asked of her sadness. Sadness? Sure, some. But if I didn't have my sadness, I wouldn't have had any joys. We who are benefactors of their living, those who have managed to thwart the ravages that time has wreaked upon both their minds and their bodies, have yet to learn and appreciate the value of time's wisdom as we dance in circles looking for the end. Or is it the beginning? We will never know or understand the visions that these eyes have seen in the light that was shared with others. Once again, I am present, obviously awkward in my wanting to listen and hear as I gaze into the light of her vision. I hope like a child who awaits that special gift at Christmas time, that the twilight of her days will be the gift that keeps on giving.
All right, Bill Craig, everyone. That was the poetic stylings from the one and only Bill Craig. Closing us up for the Center for Black Literature at Medgar Evers College, Dr. Edith Rock Elders Writers Workshop. Snap it up for Ivan Donovan.
My piece is home remedies. Mother used to say that dandelions are a healthy home remedy. During the first 2 months of the year, she would prepare bitter dandelion greens and give my brothers and I the juice left in the pot also called pot liquor, to help clear up teenage pimples and cleanse the blood. We hated the bitter taste. Our faces would contort as we gulped it down. With a wink of an eye, she would say her mother used it for medicinal purposes, but she never explained to her children what medicinal meant or how it was used. Instead, she would tell us a story about Tom Turkey's conversation with Dan, the dandelion plant. This is my version of my mother's story entitled A Conversation with Tom the Turkey and Dandelion. The scene: on an unusual warm day, a white turkey, recently pardoned, strutted haughtily around the Capitol grounds as it pecked at a patch of dandelion flowers next to the facade of the White House. Tom, gobble gobble. Dan, knowing your dandelion brothers and sisters are a bittersweet experience. Your petals this time of the year are sweet. Dan, pecking around one of the manicured bushes abutting the east facade of the White House. Why are you so smug? Tom, gobble gobble. Perhaps you hadn't heard. The president, number 45 in his infinite wisdom, spared me from the Thanksgiving dinner plate. Dan, yawning with a bored expression, well, whoever would have eaten you would be getting too much protein. That is not as good as what I can offer the human body. And besides, with all the dressing, trimming, sweet yams, and such, the human body would be bloated and unresponsive when sated on your flesh. Now, if those humans were smart, they would have a couple of helpings of me and my dandelion brothers and sisters. Tom, gobble gobble. Oh shucks, how can you fulfill the appetite of anyone? Dan, I'm not built like most vegetables that get a person's stuff. Although dandelion leaves are a great source of fiber, it also helps us to relieve constipation. Keep in mind, the high fiber content also makes you feel full, making me a great food to eat if you are trying to cut calories and lose weight. The leaves also stabilize blood sugar, making it a great food for diabetics. Even the occupant in that house that pardoned you should take note. I am built to provide the power vitamins the body needs. For instance, 1/2 cup of dandelions contain more calcium than a glass of milk and more iron than spinach. 1 cup of dandelion greens contain 19 milligrams of vitamin C, and my leaves contain more vitamin A than carrots. And if you need some vitamin K in your life, there's no better source than dandelion leaves. 55 milligrams contain a whopping 535% of your daily value. And Tom, check this out. I'm also chock full of either with other essential minerals such as potassium, folic acid, and magnesium. Dandelions are also incredibly high in antitoxins, and because they are a diuretic, they help cleanse the body of toxins. Some people make dandelion wine from my roots for medicinal purposes, which I am told can give one a tumescent glow. Tom, gobble gobble, you said a mouthful. Did you know, Smarty, that the French word for dandelion is piscillant? France translates to pee the bed. And since you are such a high and mighty diuretic, the French would also say déclassé or no class, in which the name piscillant lowers your regal class. Tom.
Ivan, it's a beautiful piece, but I just
Son.
want to say it's about 3 minutes. We've got 23 readers. Your dialogue is brilliant. I am the last person that wants to interrupt this piece, but just in order to get all 23 readers reading in the time that we have, I'm going to have to pause and just do that. So I don't want to do that, but the piece is brilliant, Ivan.
Thank you.
Can we please snap it up for the phenomenal writers of Dr. Edith Rock Elders Writers Workshop, Ivan Donovan, Jeanette Toomer, Claudette Joy Spence, and Bill Craig. Congratulations and shout out to Clarence Reynolds and Aisa Ulin, the workshop facilitator. At this point, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the next talented group of writers from Goddard Riverside Community Center. I'm going to turn it to a phenomenal writer who's so influential to my writing when I started. You're all lucky at Goddard to have Elina Alexander. Without any further ado, Elina Alexander.
Okay, unmute. I did unmute. Okay. Reggie, dear, let me just, Reg, I just want to say my writers, none of them are going on all day, all night, Marianne, but I'm not sure it's 3 minutes because I did not tell them because I did not know. I know the Barnes and Noble reading is 3. I really, you know, if it's like 3.5, 4, please, Reggie, I know it's a crappy thing to have to do. Please do not cut them off.
No, you got it. It's about like that was 5 minutes, and
Okay.
so I think I'm gonna like at 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna just.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. I'm actually going to read this so I don't screw it up. On behalf of the workshop and myself, our gratitude to poets and writers, the funders, the staff, all of you for their support in keeping us going during what were initially the darkest and worst days of the pandemic. And even as things ease up, it seems we're not quite there yet, meaning we are not yet back at and inside Goddard Riverside Senior Center. I especially want to thank Bonnie Marcus for her unfailing, unflagging spirit and goodwill in helping sustain our off-site on Zoom work as writers. To those same writers, Kathy, Maureen, Cheryl, Suzanne, Walter, and Zenny, my thanks for hanging in, not giving up, and continuing to write. I love and respect each and all of you, and you know it. Thanks, Reggie and Ricardo, and to the other workshops. We are truly honored to be reading alongside you. Our first reader will be Shirley Ayton.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I am Shirley Ayton, and I have been with Poets and Writers since 2011. And I have to thank Lena very much for all her support, always along the way. And now I would like to share a poem with you that I wrote for a dear friend of 60 years. It goes like this. For Fran Greifenberger, memories from A to Z. Fran, you are the apple that keeps the ducks away. Beautiful, inside and out. A fabulous cook. Delightful company. Easygoing, most times. Friends at first sight. Many good times together. Heart-to-heart conversations. Ideas shared. Just saying hello on our cell phones. Keeping time to meet for lunch in NYC or Valley Stream. Laughing a lot together. memories shared at holiday times, sending notes to each other when traveling. Oh my, what tasty holiday dinners we shared. We put on our sparkly shawls as we celebrated you and Al's 50th wedding anniversary. Many quick hugs when together, sending roses for your birthday. Celebrating our 60 years of friendship, you, me, and Al. Many tears were shed when you lost dear Al. You were married for 69 years. Usually you are upbeat. You are a very strong woman, a wise and loving friend. You Xeroxed my hand-painted birthday cards to share with family. Nursing was your lifelong career. You worked in hospitals and as a school nurse. Fran, your zest for life is a pleasure to behold. Thank you. Now, our next speaker will be Walter Crushfield.
Hello, I'm Walter Gretchfield, and I'm reading a piece about movies entitled Band. When a young man newly arrived in New York City in the 1950s, I joined a film society called Cinema 16, I think. Since their screenings were not open to the public, but only to their members, Cinema 16 was allowed to show movies that were otherwise banned. Two programs I saw at that time I still remember now, 60 years later. The first was a program of documentaries about slaughterhouses. In graphic detail with blood and guts all over the place, these movies showed animals being killed and cut into pieces for human consumption. Horses were hit over the head with a heavy hammer. Other animals, sheep, goats, cattle, pigs, had their throats cut with knives. They were then flayed, parts of the innards thrown away, and the rest sliced into convenient parts destined for the butcher shop. These movies were not easy to watch. Still, they did not make me a vegetarian. Although enjoying a nice steak or pork chop in my local restaurant today, I still remember these movies. Another program at Cinema 16 consisted of Nazi propaganda films showing what depraved people the Jews were. These movies did not mention Einstein or other members of the intelligentsia. Instead, their images focused on elderly, crippled men in rags and long black beards, or women in dowdy attire loitering on street corners. Surely, these were the images of a degenerate people. And this makes me remember Das Himmler Project. Seems that around 1990 or so, someone discovered a reel-to-reel tape recording of a speech Heinrich Himmler gave to a select group of SS officers in Berlin. The date of the speech may have been around 1942 or so, when things were not going well in the German war effort. In particular, they had bogged down on the Russian front. In a long, rambling speech, Himmler cajoles, upbraids, encourages, informs, and explains. And the movie based on this speech consists of a single actor who stands at a podium and reads the speech. This is all that happens in the entire movie. And one actor stands at a podium and reads a speech in German. It's about 3.5 or 4 hours long. And if you do not understand German, this means 3.5 or 4 hours reading subtitles. Long, rambling. What struck me particularly was the justification Himmler gave for the war, and although he doesn't mention it, for extermination of the Jews. Like much in Nazi policies, this was racially based. The Asian hordes were going to overrun Europe. There were too many people in Asia, especially China. They had to move out, and the only available direction was west, across Russia and eventually into Europe. The Russians, Slavs, another degenerate race, would be powerless to stop this invasion. Poles, Ukrainians, all Slavs would not be able to resist. Thus, Germany had to be the strong warrior nation to save Europe from destruction. So Himmler claimed, and might some of the recent anti-Asian hate crimes of the US have similar roots? Thank you.
Thank you, Officer.
Who's next? I've forgotten.
Suzanne.
Suzanne.
Hello.
Do it.
Hello, I'm Suzanne Pavel. In our workshop, I've become interested in an epistolary form of creative nonfiction, and I'll be reading one of those pieces today. Its title is Never Far Away. Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. Dear Kia, on Memorial Day, after taking a long walk, I headed north through Central Park towards home. The glint of a new plaque on one of the benches between 97th and 100th Streets glowed and attracted my peripheral vision. I walked up to it, bent down and read, "We sit here today to know that you are never far away. In loving memory of Danuta Widlow, 1947 to 2020. What a wonderful surprise. In a perfect location too, a straightforward walk from our Amsterdam Avenue apartment. One can feel certain your mom sat on these very benches over the years. I sit here today, and though you and I have yet to meet in person, I feel as though we have. I hope it's okay that I found you by taking a screenshot of the plaque with my phone and texting it to J.D. Duval, who is my mutual friend with Danuta. He's the widowed husband of Linda, your mom's best friend. Linda was my workplace colleague. J.D. replied that it was all Kia, very sweet, and provided your address, adding that on July 12th, you moved to Germany. This morning, I awoke thinking, I better sit down and get this letter off to you before you are gone. I'm opting to type rather than scribble, as the urgency might render my handwriting even more illegible. I hope that last May you received the sympathy card that I sent care of your mother's address. Well, I first met Danuta shortly after J.D. and his wife Linda retired to the Adirondacks. And then Linda was diagnosed with early Parkinson's. She traveled from the Adirondacks to Manhattan to test her independence, staying with her best friend Danuta. Well, as you would know, Danuta liked bringing together as a network as many mutual friends as possible. So with Linda's consent, she invited me over to visit these two longtime dear friends. Thus, I have been to the home where you grew up. It turns out that after our respective retirements, coincidentally, both Danuta and I registered for senior water aerobic classes up at Riverbank State Park. Our friendship deepened during our bus rides home. Yesterday, I was sorting through my clothes closet and came across a sweater still in its Met Opera shop bag. a black sweater peppered with black sequins and large, unique fabric appliques, perfect to wear to the opera. It was Danuta who influenced me to bring more opera into my life. I started with televised operas. Danuta and I text critiques to each other after each Channel 13 performance. In 2019, I walked to the box office, bought tickets, and attended 2 live operas, Carmen and Turandot. I wanted to get my feet wet by going on my own. The plan was for me to then join Danuta and friends where they meet for pre-opera dinners across the street from the Met. Then the pandemic happened. Well, take my address along with you to Germany. I'm good for sending you letters from the old sod. Kia, I know how much your mother loved you. Danuta wholeheartedly sang your praises. You sound like a lovely woman from her descriptions of your activities. Be well, Kia, and I wish you safe travels. And thank you for the bench. Thank you.
Okay, Zeni, Zenaida. Hola, Zeni. Arby, Zeni. Donde? Zeni, unmute, unmute.
Yes. Sorry. There she is.
Is it better now?
Yes, see.
Great. I am a bilingual person, and sometimes my writing comes out best in Spanish the first time, and sometimes I translate. For today, I am translating a poem called My Muse, that is not always with me. Calladamente escondida bajo las hojas pintadas con los colores ardientes del otoño, mi tímida musa descansaba. La busqué bajo la poca nieve que cayó en los meses fríos del invierno, pero no la encontré. Tímidamente me dejaba ver a veces su brillante esplendor, pero no duraba mucho. Se escondía tan pronto un lápiz yo buscaba. Ella no esperó, ya no estaba allí cuando un lápiz finalmente encontré. Y ahora en inglés, in English. Quietly hidden beneath leaves painted with the ardent colors of autumn, my timid muse rested. I looked beneath the few snowflakes that fell in the cold months of winter, but I could not find her. Timidly, she would sometimes let me see her brilliant splendor, but it would not last long. She would hide the moment I looked for a pencil. She would not wait. She was no longer there when finally the pencil I found. Thank you.
That was Zenaida Muslim. Okay, Maureen Allen Holder. I seem to be the introducer here.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Last year, I read a story about MC, a Maine Coon cat, who is narrating his diary. Well, MC has continued telling us about his adventures, and now he's on his 23rd episode. A children's book of MC stories may come to pass. In the meantime, I just want to give you some helpful information about Maine Coon cats. They are the biggest domestic cats in the United States. Their behavior can differ from other cats. To begin, they're very vocal. They chirp, chatter, trill, and meow. These sounds are a combination of reverberations at high-pitched speeds. I'll be using these words in the story called A Climbing Lesson. The last time I climbed this maple tree to see into my neighbor's backyards, the greenery wasn't as abundant. Today, I climbed up and up and up to where the branches weren't so thick. I was taking a chance. I'm a big boy, but maples are big and strong too. And I knew to be careful. Finding a good lookout, I stretched my head and neck and peeked through the trees and leaves. There were many yards all around me. In one yard, a beagle dog was digging, flinging dirt in all directions. In another, a small calico cat was napping in the late afternoon sun. Suddenly, my ears perked up and I halted my climb. My waving tail stopped and stood at attention. My nose quivered and my whiskers drooped. From the garden behind mine, I heard the sound of chirping birds, lots of them. I inched forward. This must be what they mean when they say a bird's eye view. Right there it was, a bird feeder. What a find. Crouching down across the tree limb near the bird feeder, I eyed orioles, goldfinches, and chickadees, all flying in circles, each one diving down to eat from the bird feeder. Motionless, I chatted and trilled while watching their every flutter. The birds didn't hear or notice me. I was no concern to them. Their focus was on feeding. My focus was on cat heaven. To get a better view, I pushed and tangled with the leaves in my way. Gently and quietly, I crouched down further, flattening my belly onto the tree bough. I stared, my eyes fixed on the circling birds, watching and waiting and waiting and watching. Time passed while I stared some more. Without so much as rustling leaves, I dug my paws into the bough, tugging and bellying forward. My prey was now just a paw swipe away. Closing in on the twittering birds, with energy sparking through me, I pounced. My extended front paws swiped at the bird feeder, just beyond my reach. Coming down from my leap, the bough squeaked, moaned, groaned, splintered, and whack. My head and body bounced from branch to branch. I heard the swishing sound of leaves, the breaking sound of tree limbs, the snapping sound of twigs, and the cracking sound of branches. Then thump. What's that? Oh, that's me. I'm on the ground. Landing on all four paws in my backyard, I twisted and wiggled my body from head to tail, turned my neck to the right, to the left, back and forward, stretched my forelegs, hind legs, and walked slowly to the fence. My neighbors, Fraser, a St. Bernard dog, and Irene, a tabby cat, were in their garden, standing still, staring at me, gazing up at the tree, then back at me. My fur was knotted with leaves, twigs, pods, and buds. Except for being shook up, I was okay. I had had enough adventure for the day. I trilled hello to Fraser and Irene, turned and headed to my cat door and home. Thank you. Next on the agenda.
Okay. I'm next to read.
Kathy.
Kathy, can you hear me?
Yes.
You are the final reader for our group.
Okay. I'm Kathy Wilson, and I'm reading my piece, which is called Trees. One of my favorite forms of nature is trees, especially the trees in Central Park. In the springtime, when they're budding with blossoms of white and pink and fuchsia, some of the leaves already light green, the scent is intoxicating. Their branches seem to reach up like arms, embracing the chirping birds. I actually find myself humming. The trees look happy to be alive again. They wave gently in the breeze, and I wave back. Like them, I feel young again, a rebirth, and even my gait is sprier.
In summer, their lush, deep green cluster of leaves provides me with a serene escape from the city's clatter. And the fall, vibrant shades of gold and brown reflecting in the lakes and streams is invigorating. I have more energy, but I love those trees most in their winter bareness. Walking through the park in winter, one can see the different configurations of the thick and thin branches. They're reaching up and down and twisting and curving in fascinating patterns, each so different, sturdy, majestic, some hundreds of years old. Looking up at them, I am one with nature and eternity. In my early 20s, my first New York apartment, it was a brownstone, a Fifth Avenue walk-up between 95th and 96th Street on Central Park West. A bay window overlooked Central Park. And when the sun rose in the east, especially in the winter, it was bright orange fire streaming through the bare trees. I would actually have to put on my sunglasses. What a magnificent way to start the day. It filled me with energy. The beauty of it kept me sitting at my table and its warmth, sipping my coffee many long mornings. On clear days, when the sun finally hovered over the treetops, their bareness allowed me to see across to Fifth Avenue and to the then Triborough Bridge. I was now a New Yorker, an Upper West Sider. This was my city, and I owned the view of my trees. It was my park, my buildings, my bridge. I felt powerful and filled with ambition. Now, when the snow fell, the soft whiteness adorned those curves and twists of the branches. It was so quiet, a peaceful time, unlike my childhood, when living across from the park with bare trees and snow and cold brought overwhelming loneliness. But now I was content. I was content with being alone with my view and my trees. As the sun went down, the trees were outlined against the crisp winter sky of pink, purple, yellow, blues. It was tranquilizing. At that time, I decided I wanted to be cremated and I wanted my ashes scattered around Central Park. However, recently I read that there is a biodegradable urn where one's ashes can be deposited and buried with the seeds of a tree. The ashes will fertilize the seeds and you can become a tree. And I love that idea, to once again have spring, summer, fall, winter over and over and over again. The beginning.
Can we give it up for the phenomenal writers from Goddard, Riverside Community Center, and to Elina Alexander? Wow, congrats. If you just joined us, this is the 2021 Honoring Our Elders reading. We have writers from Grand Street Settlement. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Alicia Annabelle Santos, who's going to introduce the writers. I think you have two readers, two authors there, Alicia. Then after that, we're going to take a short 7-minute break with a raffle. So without any further ado, snap it up for Grand Street Settlement, and welcome to the Zoom room, Alicia Annabelle Santos.
Hey everyone, this is Alicia Annabelle Santos. I am the teaching artist for Grand Street Settlement. First of all, I just wanted to say to Kathy, what a wonderful segue. You were amazing. I am so New York. I am such a New Yorker. And so my view, my trees, I will take that with me. That was stunning. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, elders. Good afternoon to all of the guests who are watching. Felicidades to all of the elders that were able to muster the energy to put pen to page. Writing is such a brave act. It is amazing to witness all you have created through the chaos. I bow to you. I want to take a moment to acknowledge those we have lost during this pandemic, loose for their spirit. And I'm sending a special prayer to Denise Murphy, one of the seniors we lost at Grand Street this year. Thank you to Bonnie Marcus and Poets and Writers for permitting me the opportunity to facilitate such a sacred space for writing at Grand Street Settlement Senior Center. Thank you to our funders. Thank you to my director, Doris Esteves, and assistant director, Inez de la Nuez. I wanted to share a little bit, some of the things that we wrote about during this round of Poets and Writers. Some of the themes that we wrote about were how to be light in times of darkness, right? So the light bringer. We wrote about war, peace, and protest. We wrote about grief, loss, and love. We wrote about gardening and beauty and flowers. And we wrote about joy. And so I wanted to share a poem that one of my beautiful seniors, Fran, sent me, titled On Joy and Sorrow by Khalil Gibran, 1883-1931. Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked. And the self-same well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears. And how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. It is not the cup that holds your wine, the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven, and is not the lute that soothes your spirit, the very wood that was hollowed with knives. When you are joyous, look deep into your heart, and you shall find it is only that which has given you sorrow that is giving you joy. When you are sorrowful, look again in your heart, and you shall see that in truth you are weeping for that which has been your delight. Some of you say, joy is greater than sorrow, and others say, nay, sorrow is the greater. But I say unto you, they are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you at your board, remember that the other is asleep upon your bed. Verily, you are suspended like scales between your sorrow and your joy. Only when you are empty are you at standstill and balanced. When the treasure keeper lifts you to weigh his gold and his silver, needs must your joy or your sorrow rise or fall. A special shout out to all my seniors, Joyce, Lana, Sheila, Carmen, and all of the seniors who have joined our writing classes. And it is my honor and privilege and joy to introduce my two seniors who will be reading today, Fran Sussman, and Kathleen Smallwood.
Fran? Okay. So it's a beautiful day today. Gorgeous, and I'm sitting here at my computer on Zoom, but my thoughts go to the past because I'm trying to ignore the pandemic. And in memory of past summers, inspired by my kitchen thermometer, which read 96 degrees, and in anticipation of our new normal, here's my rhyme. I've been roasted and toasted, been baked and been broiled. I've been deep fried and stir fried, steamed, simmered, and boiled. I turn on my AC and shut the door tight. I need to chill out now, then sleep through the night. The danger is real. A heat wave can kill. I drink and I drink. I drink more than my fill. I take it easy and pray for Con Ed. What would I do if my AC were dead? The end.
Excellent. Excellent, Fran. Love that. Amen. All right, I'm Kathy Smallwood, and I'm going to read Certitude. I have grown old. Age came swiftly, not like what I had imagined. The garden of my youth has become the sanctuary of my golden years. The hum of the birds, the sweet fragrance of the azalea bushes, the roses adorning the fences and gates as a glimpse of glory shining in. Butterfly wings dance like the angels. The sycamore trees and their branches wrestle as the torrents of the river. I sit amongst the succulents of my sanctuary. Red cardinals and blue jays grace my presence. I meditate to the sounds of dove. I embrace I am who I am and who I have been. Thorns, brokenness, defeat, and success. Yes, I am a tree planted by the rivers of water. Trees share their roots for nourishment. I share compassion to others and sometimes to myself. By the pond, I view my image as the beloved. I look to the stars who guide my night voyages and sweet dreams. I declare and decree my perfect imperfection of being is more than enough. My path well worn from good decisions and bad. The dung of my garden fertilized over years of tribulation, and yet my garden blooms with bursts of turquoise, orange, magenta, sage, and saffron, with bursts of love, with bursts of the fragrant aroma of prayers. The certitude of my life has been in knowing the cosmic dust of my being is eternal.
Come on, Kathy.
Love you, Kathy.
Yes,
Love
Kathy.
you.
That was phenomenal.
Alicia,
Yes.
you want me to do
Kathleen
the second one?
Smallwood and Fran Sussman, y'all, representing Grand Street Settlement, and Alicia Annabelle Santos. Thank you for that beautiful reading. We heard incredible writers. We heard from Bill Craig, Claudette Joy Spence, Jeanette Toomer, Ivan Donovan, Shirley Ayton, Maureen Holder, Walter Gretchfield, Zaneta Muslim, Suzanne Patel, Kathy Wilson, Fran Sussman, and Kathleen Smallwood. We are going to take a 7-minute stretch break. I'm going to grab a cocktail. I also need to do a little pee break. When we come back, we have our raffle. Someone is going to win a 1-year Poets and Writers magazine subscription and a Poets and Writers complete guide to being a writer. So we're going to take a short break, and we're going to hear from Kew Gardens Community Center, Stanley Isaacs Neighborhood Center, and Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center. So stay tuned, take a stretch, and we will be right back. Shout out to Ricardo.
Yes, thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Reggie.
Right. So we are at our 2021 Honoring Our Elders reading. I am Reggie Cabico, your MC. We're going to hear from some incredible work from Kew Gardens Community Center, from Stanley Isaacs Neighborhood Center, and Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center. Before we do that, it would not be an Honoring Our Elders reading if I did not give out a raffle. So in this cup, my very expensive prop, recycling, I have everyone's names, and we are raffling off a 1-year Poets and Writers magazine subscription and a Poets and Writers complete guide to being a writer. Is that one prize, Bonnie, or are those 2 prizes? That's like one prize package, correct?
No, one is the subscription and another is the book. So
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we're spreading the wealth here. All right, so this is for a 1-year Poets and Writers magazine subscription. And the winner is Bill Craig, everyone. Bill Craig, congratulations, Bill. Bill, you are a winner on this glorious
I'm writing this down and I will email you for your address later on.
I also want to say that Ricardo is going to take a group photo.
Thank you, thank you.
On Zoom. Congratulations. How does it feel to be a winner?
Well, this is the first time. It must be a beginning. So I'm looking at a beginning. This must be a brand new. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I love your reading and your words, and 2 more poems. And we can't wait to hear you again. So congratulations, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. The winner of the Poets and Writers Complete Guide to Being a Writer, we have dun, 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 Ed Snyder, everyone. Ed Snyder. Is Ed there? Or do I have to?
Well, let me see. I saw him earlier. Ed, are you there? Let's see.
Ed, you won. You won. That is, yes. Yes, this is so exciting. I feel like Oprah. This is great.
Just send the money.
No, I'm not Oprah. I'm Nopra. There is no.
Send the card. Send the card, please.
Actually, I have a sister named Faith and another sister named Charity. So my name is Reggie, and there is no hope in the family. But my mom wanted me to be like Oprah. She goes, "You could be like Oprah, Reggie. You're my Hopra." So I got some rhymes going on because that's how I roll. All right, Ricardo, take this away. You got the technical wizardry to make a group photo. Ricardo, we're gonna do the group photo.
Okay.
People should put on their screens if they want to be seen. I hope you all do.
So if you can, we're gonna try to take screenshot. Ricardo will take screenshots of all of us. So if you're ready to be camera ready for your close-up, please turn your camera on, and we're gonna do.
We don't see you, Shirley. If you want to be in the photo.
I'm trying to find my light, but here we go.
Alicia, Marty, Catherine, unless you don't want to be, it's your choice, but.
I'm gonna count us down, and then we'll take a couple.
Cool.
This is great. So 3, 2, 1, everyone smile. Great. Do one more. More. Action shots are always fun too, if you want to do that. I know that we always do yes, exactly, Ed. The energy for Bill. That's a good one.
Elina, I love the jazz hands.
Okay, I think we got a couple, and then we'll try another round a little bit later. But thank you, everyone.
Oh my God! See, we can still have fun. Next up, we will play Pin the Tail on the Donkey through Zoom. I think that there's a way to do that. All right, we are back. Representing and introducing the phenomenal writers from Kew Gardens Community Center. Please give it up for Marty Carrera. Marty.
Hi, Reggie. How you doing?
Good. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, and thanks for always making it fun. And Bonnie, I was in the picture. I happened to have my phone on too because I was kind of like, I don't know, having technical difficulties, and I decided to have my bases covered. So I'm here twice. So, it's my evil twin on the other side. So I echo Elina Alexander's praise for Bonnie and for everyone there at Poets and Writers. She said it best, so I'll let it stand there. And Ricardo Hernandez doing all the tech today. That I know that isn't easy, so thank you, Ricardo. All of us at Kew Gardens would like to thank Poets and Writers. Every week we get together, it's a blessing, and I'm impressed by the dedication and the talent of all the writers in our group. And now I'm kind of spoiled in a way because when I look at other groups I'm in as a writer, I won't settle for anything less. And sometimes I think to myself, I wish this person were more like Joyce, or that person, a little more generous and listen to every word. And that's something they do, is they listen to every word and they care about every moment of a piece, which is really important when you're in community with other writers. So thank you to everybody in what we call the Zoomers group, which we called ourselves right after the pandemic hit and we were on Zoom. You're going to hear from 5 writers today, but there are other 3 writers who are always giving feedback and bringing us their work as well. Joyce Winnikoff, Rosa Hall, and Rodica Tenenbaum. Those are the other 3 writers who are in the group and are very important parts of our of our workshops. First up, you're going to hear from Rosita Martinez.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
My poem is a sestina. The title of it is Absolution. Because in my infancy, you said adieu, you never gave me the chance to know you. You abandoned me, and it was not my fault. You left a big hole in my tender love vault. In your absence, I felt like a little girl who in her father's arms, she wished she could curl. I would have loved to feel your fingers curl my hair, and from the schoolyard, see you wave adieu. I believe I was the only little girl who had lost her father, so I searched everywhere for you. My heart soon became an empty vault. Sometimes I thought it was my fault. How can I think it was my fault? You seared my fragile heart with an iron curl and lost the key to the deserted vault when you chose to bid me adieu. Was leaving me gainful for you? I always longed to be your baby girl. I am convinced I was not your baby girl, and I am sure it was not my fault. I silently knew I really needed you and wished to walk with my fingers curled around yours. When you said adieu, were you sad or even cared about the abandoned vault? Now you buried the lonely vault with you inside. And forever to the little girl, you said your final adieu. But today, I release you of all fault. I forgive you. Even your arms, I could not curl. And I hope you knew I always loved you. For abandoning me, I pardon you. I have hidden our love in a sacred vault. Now that you have died, in your heart, I will curl. I still believe you loved your baby girl. I no longer think about who was at fault, because in heaven, we will never again say adieu. We will never, never again say adieu. I will forever be your baby girl. I have fully absolved you of all fault. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosita.
Thank you.
Poetic redemption right there. Thank you. Next up is Al Zeiger.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Al. Thanks.
All right, since I'm the youngest guy in this group, I get to read two short poems. First one is coronavirus. I'm sitting here like a lump, trying to get past this cosmic hump. Whoever thought that this would come, banging a door like a deadly drum? From Asia it came without a sign, hitting the world right in its spine. It's almost like a horror's tale, bigger than the largest ocean whale. We can't go out, we have to stay in. It's like an iron fist right at my chin. Nothing much about it can we do, because it's even worse than the dastardly flu. Everything is closed that is outside. A groom can't even marry his bride. The world is locked up like in a jail, and people pray with a great wail. No one is safe once going outdoors. It's even worse than all our wars. There's no way out till time goes by. So I'm staying home and have a good cry. And the second one on the menu is The Path Not Taken. I came to a road with a fork one day, but I wasn't in the mood nor had time to play. To decide which way I should choose to go, it was late at night and my mind was slow. So I went to the right and hoped for the best. It turned out that riches were now my quest. I had money galore and servants around, a home as big as a king's compound. But was I happy, I kept asking myself? Was I loath for my gold or my wealth itself? Years later, I went back to that infamous fork, and so I picked the wrong one like an old dork. The fork that I picked was riches, of course. It should have been the other one that was my source. It would have been happiness I should have picked, but who in life is smart enough to predict? So now I'm stuck with the road I have chosen and live with the gold, but a heart that is frozen.
Wonderful. Thanks, Al. Al is always saying he's not a poet, and then he's always coming out with great poems. So I don't believe about anything anymore. So next up, we have Rachel Donner.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I switched one, I have some short poems, and I'm admitting that I switched one after hearing Bonnie speak to us. Celebration. In brilliant sunshine, pale blue skies, barely a breeze, I walk my senior self alone, masked and gloved, but without walker or cane. It's 100 days since I fell, bashing in my face, fracturing my kneecap. Yet how can I celebrate when thousands are dying alone and the president offers disinfectant? Three o'clock. This blue-eyed child's school days ended by 3 o'clock, the hour which became my snack time at work. Now a retiree, it's nap time. My mother's ruling till I was over 4. It was she, not I, who failed first grade more than a century ago for dozing during reading, perhaps from unseen poor eyesight, as I might do in theater with only poor sleep as my excuse. Though ever an early riser, I have changed. Now it's 3 a.m. when I awaken, long before sunrise, ready to read and write, wonder and worry, as if in my own time zone. Musician sex. Musicians can be great lovers with their sensitive rhythm, practiced timing, subtle touch, strong hands or supple tongues, controlled breathing, ability to perform, and above all, great passion for their instruments.
That's great. Thanks. Thanks, Rachel. And I like that you read that first one. It really, like you said, it matches what Bonnie was saying earlier, and it was of the moment, which is great. Thank you. Next up is kind of the group leader, I guess. I said kind of because when I came in, she was the person who told me what time it was, and she's always the one who helps me out and is the liaison between what's happening and what I think is happening. So here's Joyce Berger.
Hello, everybody. First of all, it's just so nice to see all of the familiar faces from all the other groups. It feels like a little alumni coming together, so that's kind of delightful. And secondly, I want to mention Marty. She gives a new definition to generosity of spirit. She's just the most wonderful person. Adore her. And to the rest of my fellow writers, they are, with Marty, the best teachers one can have. So I thank you all. Okay. This is called Backpacking with a Gazelle. Is this a good level, by the way, for the microphone?
Absolutely, I hear you very clearly.
Okay. Jarush is very tall, very blonde, and very thin. As he moves, he reminds me of a young gazelle, all legs, agile, and ever graceful. We decide to go backpacking one weekend in the Shonga Mountains, known to locals as the Gunks. On a balmy September day, we labor up a steep, sun-dappled trail that opens onto a clover-filled meadow. Looking over a clear blue lake, we see bundles of campers nested far below. We pitch the tent, build a stone fireplace, collect firewood, and eat rehydrated chicken stew washed down by steaming hot cups of postum. As the lake swallows the last glisters of the setting sun, we curl our cold toes by the crackling fire. Burrow deep within my sleeping bag, I lie awake, tuning my ears to the world outside. Like a meadow vole, I'm vigilant, listening, and ever alert to the soundless flight of owls, ready to swoop down with steel, sharp talons. A tiny sound, something a far-off cricket might make as it springs off a stalk of brown, dry grass. The sound grows into hundreds of splintering twigs. It deepens, becoming heavier, not the delicate footsteps of a tentative deer, but thudding footfalls mashing the ground cover. It is moonless, and everything is masked in a dull, dark wash. A large shadow looms near. Anything this close and this big is either a bear or worse, a man. My knife, where did I put it? Cords tighten my throat, mouth metallic and dry. I can barely whisper, Jarush, Jarush. He doesn't answer. My muscles have hardened to solid granite. It's impossible to reach over and shake him. The shadow pours over the top of the tent. An axe or claws will tear through the fabric, and I scream. The scream is ear-piercing. The scream comes from a place I never knew existed. The scream will be the last sound I will ever make. Outside the tent, Jarush screams back in horror, "Oh God, Joyce!" And then I laugh. I laugh so hard, I'm not able to tell him I never heard him get up, zip over the tent, and leave, yet it awakened to the tiny sound of a snapping twig. I laugh because Jarush is as panicked as I was. I laugh because we are both alive. I laugh and laugh and laugh. Thank you.
That's beautiful. And the last part is so poetic, which I like how you always do that. Let us down easy at the end. Next up is Heidi Messner.
Now can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. The story is called A Journey in 1963. Dusk comes early, flying east into a different time zone. Cabin lights have been turned on. I pull down the shade over my little window. The passenger in the seat next to mine says, "Name's Marvin. I'll be sitting right here till we land in Frankfurt." His voice is deep and melodious. "My name is Heidi," I smile. Flight attendants hand out menus. Drinks are offered. I ask for a glass of Riesling, a wine made from grapes grown in Southwest Germany, where I was born and where I lived for the first 23 years of my life. Marvin shakes out cigarettes from his pack, and I accept when he offers. I notice his beautiful hands and the gold wedding band gleaming on his finger. "I hear you have an accent," he says. "Where are you from?" "I was born in Germany, but I live in Seattle now." "Isn't there a military base nearby?" "Yes, Fort Lewis, an army base." Glancing at me sideways, he murmurs, "What a coincidence. So you're going back home then?" "Only for a short visit." "I'm on my way to Germany too," Marvin says, to see someone I met when I was stationed there in Heidelberg. "Ah, yes, the war. It changed everything for everybody, didn't it? It certainly altered the trajectory of my life." "Oh, I loved it over there. It was so cool. If it hadn't been for that war, I would have never had the chance. I drove all over Germany and France, Italy too. But the person I am going to see there is my wife, and I hope to bring her back with me. Her name is Hella. We have a son, Brandon. He's almost 7 now." "But your wife prefers to live in Germany?" "We lived together in New York for a while, but she went back last year. I imagine she found it difficult to get used to living in America. Everything is so different here. It was hard for me at first, but now, after 4 years, I wouldn't go back for anything." "I wish you could talk to Hella. If she had a friend like you, who knows?" But the reason she went back was because she felt uncomfortable here. She's a beautiful woman, but she got tired of tippy-toeing around, tired of having fingers pointed behind our backs when we walked together. There were moments when she even feared for my life. I'm sure you know what I mean, Miss Heidi. I wait for him to continue, but there's an awkward silence now, a sadness pressing down on Marvin's shoulders. "Because if this," he says, rubbing his fingers vigorously on his arm, "I am a colored man." He pulls an airmail letter from his pocket, holds it in his hand a while before unfolding it. The crinkles in the thin blue paper are unmistakable. He's read the letter many times, has memorized each word that Hella wrote. He hands me a Polaroid picture, a young woman, about 27 like me, sitting on the rim of a fountain, smiling broadly at the camera. A little boy with laughing eyes and a head full of light brown curls is leaning against her, so casual, one leg crossed over the other. Morning comes, we land in Frankfurt, and before he rushes off to meet his wife, Marvin hands me the envelope and quickly writes down Hella's number. "Give her a call if you can, Miss Heidi, please."
Thank you, Heidi. I'd like to mention that that's one of many stories Heidi is telling in her memoir. So someday I hope to be announcing that it's somewhere where you can read it, because we're pretty spoiled and isolated. And we would love to have her share it with the world. So thank you so much. And on to you, Reggie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marty, and to Rachel Donner and Rosita Martinez and Joyce Berger and Heidi Messner and Al Zeiger. You're all incredible. Thank you. We have up next, we're going to hear from Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center, but before that, We're going to hear from the incredible writers of Stanley Isaac's Neighborhood Center, and here to introduce your writers at Snap It Up for the one and only Esther Weiner. And I hope I said that right. Esther, please
It's
welcome.
okay, it's
Come,
Weiner,
come.
but it happens all the time. Thank you, Sir Reginald. Thank you. The work here is just so extraordinary. I thank you, Bonnie, always and always. I thank you, Ricardo, who is invaluable. And I thank you, poets and writers, who became even more invaluable than ever this year. I wrote down just a few things to say, and here they are. In spite of a pandemic, our terrific Isaac Center gang kept writing. In response to the external situation or in response to their internal worlds. In wonderfully variant forms, they kept creating. And now here they are to read that wonderful work to you. We're unfortunately missing one of our gang, Wen Ballard, but you will be hearing Vlassapal, Jane Gleiberman, our very newest member, Florence Schoen, who has been in this workshop since the minute it started in 2008, and Ed Snyder, and it will be in that order. Vlassapal, you're on. Vlas, where are you? You're on. Unmute and join us.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
You know I can't say it in Spanish, so you got.
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
My poem title is Dream from Real Life. I dreamed of you last night, sharing my bed. Hand against my back. Your right arm was my pillow, while with the left one, held me close, saying, stay with me, don't go away. I woke up happy this morning. I was at home. Didn't go anywhere. And you were still there beside me. I realized we look a lot different than we did in my last night dream. Between is a larger space in time where we have woven a love story crafted daily, filled with laughs, kisses, tears, pain, joys, and love. The idyllic ascent from that dream is nothing compared to our everyday, nothing to compare to all of our unforgettable happy years. Dream from Real Life from Brasopal. Thank you.
That was Blastopol. Everyone, snap it up for Blastopol. And I believe next up is the newest member of the writing group. Snap it up for Jane Gleiberman.
Thank you so much. Okay, the title of mine is That Cab Driver is My Father. I admit I have a soft spot in my heart for cab drivers. Why? Because when I was growing up, my father Morris was one of those cap-wearing drivers, and he actually enjoyed his job. He didn't have to sit in an office all day with some demon boss breathing down his neck. He didn't have to work with nasty coworkers. He could take lunch whenever he wanted. In reality, he had some semblance of freedom. He met interesting people all over Manhattan. He even found money left by his passengers in the back seat of his cab. He always returned the money. My father was a very honest man. Many times he received a reward from some grateful passengers for returning large sums of money to them. and he received generous tips. As a child, I had no concept of what it meant to be a professional, as many people are today. I just knew that my father was very happy driving a cab. And isn't that enough in life? After several years of driving, it became too dangerous for him to continue. Cab drivers were held up and many were murdered. My father then took a civil service test, which he passed. Soon after, he was interviewed and accepted a position as a clerk in the Appeals Bureau of the District Attorney's Office in Manhattan. Eventually, he would be promoted to senior clerk. Thus, my father began a new career. My mother and I were very happy for him. He absolutely loved what he was doing. He took abundant notes on those long yellow pads. He even took those notes home and studied them every day. He was so competent at his job that his boss wanted him to become a lawyer. What a compliment to him. However, he felt too tired and too old. He was only in his late 50s. I think he would have been a great lawyer. Anyway, he traded in his cab driver's cap and jacket for a suit and tie. That's when he looked professional to me. I must admit he looked wonderful, and I was very proud of his accomplishments. My father was also, I am not ashamed to say, my knight in shining armor. I was attending college at night and working during the day as a secretary. We traveled together every morning into Manhattan. At the end of my first day at a new job, I got lost and was in the wrong subway station. What to do? Naturally, I called my father, who was still in his office. Luckily, he found me because he was familiar with the area I worked in, and we rode home together. What a miracle. Now, every time I am in a cab, I think of my father's early beginnings as a cab driver. Even though he changed his occupation, I still see him in his cap and jacket, his uniform. I see his turquoise eyes, yes, turquoise, twinkling, and his beaming smile. What a guy.
That was Jane, everyone. Wow, Jane.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Florence Schoen on the phone because the phone is still there. It works. The old-fashioned way. Remember when we spoke on phone? All right. Snap it up for Florence, and then Ed Snyder is on deck. Florence, it's your moment.
Go, Florence.
Are you there, Flo?
Do we see Florence?
Florence?
Florence is in the room.
We need you.
But I'm not sure if she can unmute. Florence, I'm sending you a request to unmute. You can just go ahead and unmute.
And if not, maybe Ricardo will go with Ed Snyder, and then back to Florence. Does that sound good?
Am I in?
Oh, Florence, you're here.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, because I did that before and I was in. I don't know what happened. Okay. I wrote the following poem at the beginning of the pandemic in April 2020. It's called War of the World, the Coronavirus. The coronavirus has hit us all. Can't go to the movies, can't go to the mall. We have to sit home, watch TV or clean house. Missing companionship, hoping someone will call. But all kidding aside, this nightmare is here. All over the world, everywhere. So many have died. Here in New York City, we've been struck with a brick. Hospitals filled to capacity capacity with so many sick. This murdering virus came out of the blue. Doctors and nurses risking their lives to fight an unknown disease much worse than the flu. Scientists throughout the world working night and day, trying to find a way to create a vaccine that would wipe out this disease, this killer that has taken our lives away. In the meantime, everything is shut down tight. Stores, banks, Broadway shows, businesses, schools, while we're in this fight. Unemployment, isolation. We all must wear masks and stay 6 feet apart when out for the reason of doing essential tasks. All we're left with is prayer and hope a cure will be found to get civilization back to normal all the world round. When this day comes, it will be so sweet. I'm 92 now, but I'll dance in the street. It's now June of 2021. Vaccines have been created, and many people are fully vaccinated. Things are opening up, but we're not out of the woods yet. Hopefully, we can soon all live a normal life again. I'm 93 now, and I intend to keep my promise. If street fairs come back, I'll dance in the street. That's it.
All right, Florence, we are dancing. We are dancing with our hands. Thank you so much for that poem. And rounding us up here from Stanley Isaac's Neighborhood Center, snap it up for Ed Snyder.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Thank you, everyone organizing. And Esther, our fearless leader. Here I'll begin. March 2020. New York City is shut down due to the rising death toll caused by a virus named COVID-19. It's then I decide to start a diary that will chronicle one person's experience of the effects that virus has on his world. During the weeks that follow, it becomes evident that my posts are becoming part of a larger legacy. Now titled Ed's Op-Ed, what started out as a simple diary has become an ongoing commentary of our time. An example, June 2nd, 2021, Wednesday. As of this entry, it appears that New York City and the rest of the country are turning the page on COVID-19. The city is reopening with more and more traffic on the streets, and the population is attaining a near 0% rate of infection. However, we are far from living under pre-pandemic conditions. I visited Midtown Manhattan earlier today and observed that many businesses, including restaurants, are still closed, in some cases permanently. Although there is a worldwide optimism generated by Americans taking the coronavirus vaccines, our democratic republic is rapidly becoming subverted by a blatant, ongoing Trump Republican-led insurrection, morphing into the form of numerous subversive voter suppression laws being passed by Trump Republican-dominated state legislatures. For the first time in my life, I feel the real, ever-present danger that our government will become a dictatorship with a loss of freedoms formerly taken for granted. While said domestic challenges are occurring, our nation's infrastructure is being attacked by mostly Russian computer hackers enabled by the Putin government. Thank God we have Biden as president and patriots committed to preserving our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
You heard it, the wonderful writers from Stanley Isaac's Neighborhood Center, Blossopal, Jane Glebergman, Florence Schoen, and Ed Snyder, and shout out to Esther Weiner. Thank you all. We've got, I believe, 3 more writers from Lincoln Square's Neighborhood Center. Ilana Bell is their workshop leader. But we have Bonnie Rose Marcus who will introduce our fabulous writer. So I'm going to turn it over to the dynamic, wonderful Bonnie Rose Marcus. Bonnie, thank you for all you have been doing, seriously. And you were just so pivotal in my own career as a writer at the Asian American Writers Workshop, funding those workshops as well as the workshops that I was teaching over at Bellevue Hospital. So you've always been there, and there's always a joy that and a desire that comes out of the way that you support and really believe in the power of the word and the community and the writing together has always been there from the very beginning. It has never lessened. It has always just grown. So we're just honored to be writing and growing with you, Bonnie. So Bonnie Rose Marcus.
Yay.
God, thank you, Reggie. I don't do this alone, and I'm glad my enthusiasm and real support for especially the senior writing workshops is here, because there's a lot of other stuff I'm not good at, technology speaking. So I thank you for that. And I want to just give a shout out to Ricardo, who's been working with me for the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years. I can't remember. Started as an intern, became the program assistant, and now is he just runs so much of the program with me, with all of his dedication and diligence and smartness. So shout out to Ricardo and to everybody at Poets and Writers. I am sorry that Ilana Bell is not here. Ilana is a wonderful writer and a wonderful teacher. She's been teaching at the Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years. And I've had the privilege, as I have going to many of your workshops, of going to her workshop. And she just creates such a supportive and inspiring environment with the writers in her workshop. And so really just hats off to Ilana Bell. So we have, I want to say that there were 2 writers that were supposed to read here today, Irene Preto-Coogan and Risa Ehrlich, who had to deal with some emergency, not feeling well, and so bring their spirit into the room here. But we will start here with Victor. Victor, I don't know if I'm saying your last name right, Barranca? Sorry if I've said it wrong, but take the stage.
Thank you. I would like to read 2 short poems. The first one is a sonnet entitled Between the Stars. Your gentle touch is like the dark between the stars reverberating over time, enclosed by colors that remain unseen and poems echoing with sentient rhyme. The subtle music taking silent root beneath the fertile soil of our estate engenders there the newborn fragile shoot of beauteous life, so green and delicate. And far away the air and sea are bright with incandescence trilling in the blue that carries on its merry airs the light of day that dawn can evermore renew. The dark between the stars forever cries with joy the cosmic possibilities. And the second short poem is a monologue entitled Century Soldier, January 6th, 2021. I am 100 now and lived too long. I fought the fascist white supremacists in 44. I saw my comrades shot and mutilated by the Nazi bombs. But on we fought because we simply must. The concept that there is a basic law, that decency and sheer humanity are simple values deep within our skin. But now I see those forces rise again. The fascists, white supremacists are here. Democracy now trumped by criminals, the lawless mobs that tyrants love to use to end the freedoms that we bled to keep. Our desecrated capital in chains, our army needed to defend our own against our own, misguided, traitorous, inflamed, malicious forces, tearing down the country built on dreams of noble men, seditionists who feed on lies and fears, and FDR and Lincoln now in tears.
I wanted to share, I hope you don't mind, Victor, but Victor has a book out called My Muse in Verse. So congratulations on your book, Victor. What a great accomplishment.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for all your encouragement.
So the next reader is Toby Levine.
Hi. Hello. And Victor's book is great. Okay. I'm going to read one poem, Rabbit on the Moon. In Indonesia, there's a rabbit on the moon. That's what Lonnie told me years ago, and then said, also in my country, I must speak softly because I'm Chinese. I told her that when I was 10, a neighbor said Jews can't go to heaven. I showed her my silver high, the Hebrew symbol for life that I used to wear on a chain around my neck. Lonnie had an uplift in her voice, a sort of here comes spring sound. When she spoke, I imagined something burst into blossom there, as if a sudden secret opened wide. Excuse me. I sometimes wonder where she is, how she is. She went back to Indonesia to get married. The man was wealthy. How wealthy? She didn't know. In my country, she said, a woman doesn't ask those things. With her fingers, she twisted the story closed. Thank you.
That was so beautiful, Toby. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Kate Hogan.
Hi, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Before I begin, I just want to say for all of the writers from Lincoln Square Neighborhood Center, thank you to poets and writers for organizing this event and for all you've done for us.
Yes.
On a personal level, I can say that during the pandemic, the only human contact I had sometimes was our writers group, and I will never forget it. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've been a resident of New York City for over 40 years, and sometimes I think that I can catch a glimpse of my younger self coming out a doorway or standing on a corner of a sidewalk. And I've tried to incorporate that feeling into the poem I'm going to share today. It's called The Past is Mist, M-I-S-T. I walk through our shadows, garlic-drenched scampi at a sidewalk table on Columbus Avenue, thumb fights along the Hudson, endless games of pool, the chalky blue dust cracked in the ridges of our hands. It is chimera. Your wily whisper would shrink in the cold of my fast, taciturn moods. I remember it all. How you pulled glass from my foot, fell asleep in the subway after a drunken party, sank to your knees, placed your head upon my stomach. The tears that tore from us, and how I hungered to capture them before they fell. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, all of the writers at Lincoln Square and all those that weren't able to be here. I know you have a wonderful group of writers.
All right. Shout out to all of the writers. We are at the end of our reading, but there is some more celebration because I have 2 raffle giveaways. This is for a 1-year subscription to Poets and Writers. And the recipient is Victor Barranca. Victor, congratulations. You are a winner. All right.
Thank you.
How does it feel, Victor?
Feels great. Thank you very much.
All right. And now the Poets and Writers Handbook Guide to Writers that just came out. It goes to Kate Hogan, everyone. Kate Hogan. Congratulations, Kate. Where are you?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you go. Oh my God, perfect timing. Congratulations, lovely
Thank
poem.
you, thank you.
We are going to conclude. A shout out to Ricardo, doing some magical technical wizardry here. We're gonna do, I think, one last photo, Ricardo. So I think, turn on your camera if you would like to be photographed. This is for archival purpose, so we are gonna make it happen. People are gonna wonder, what was it like? They can well, we were on Zoom, we were on our computers, we were writing and we were reading our poems. We told the world that we were here, and this was our dreams. These are our memories right here captured. And to our YouTube audience, we're so happy that you tuned in. So you'd like to check out more of this. So
Reggie, could I mention that I forgot to say that Blas has published a poetry book. Excuse me for interrupting, but we're very excited for him. And I should have said it earlier. So bravo, Blas.
Blas Appel, bravo. Kudos. Ricardo.
Yes. Hi. Okay, so I'm just getting everything set up here. But I got a little emotional at that last poem. I don't know why. Thank you, Kate. And thank you, everyone. So yeah, like we did it the first time, if you'd like to be included in the group photo, please go ahead and turn on your camera now, and I'll count us down. Jane, I'm really happy to see the parakeet on your shoulder. That is so cute. Okay, so then I'll just go through it again. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Couple shots here. I want to make sure we get everyone. Okay, everyone looks so great. Okay, I think we're good, Reggie.
Thank you all so much. Congratulations to everyone. We will see you next year. Keep writing.
3 cheers for Reggie for the wonderful hosting that he always does. Incredible. And I just thought before we leave, thank you to everybody. If you want to unmute and we can just all give all of us a round of applause that we can actually hear, or a yay, or a
yay.
Yay. That was fantastic.
Yay. Inspiring.
Yay. Yay. Whoa. Yippee!
Thank you, everyone. Thanks again.
Good seeing everybody next year in person. In person.
Fabulous. It was fabulous. Thank you so much, Bonnie, and all of Poets and Writers. And all everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bonnie. It was a fantastic program.